Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Redefining Society and Technology podcast. I added technology a few episodes ago because even if I always consider technology the thing that is redefining society, search engine and contextualization, and when people look for you, it was good to have technology there. But it's always been, and the other thing that has always been in my passion for these is the fact that it's a two-way street. So it's not just society or technology that influence the other, but it's a synergy between the two, and it should be like that. Otherwise, as I like to start, we're always just following blinking lights and funny noises and just take any gadget that is thrown at us. And today we're actually going to talk probably more about what is the gadget that make us human, which is our brain. If it is a gadget, I don't know. We'll see. Probably Jeremy disagree with me on that one. But I am very excited to have this conversation. And the guest is Jeremy Lasman. Welcome to the show. Not too far from where I am, actually.
Yeah, it's nice to be here, Marco.
See, we're using technology, and we could have met, in about 40 minutes, maybe more with traffic. But we're not that far.
Maybe for the next one.
Maybe for the next one. For some reason, I'm actually reconnected with a lot of people down in the South Bay of LA where I used to live, and I kind of miss it. I miss those walk on the strand and enjoy the sunset, and where I used to kind of recharge my brain. So see, I'm keep going in towards the brain here because I know that's what we're going to talk about here together with technology. So Jeremy, a little bit about yourself so that you can introduce to the audience, and then we'll just dive in. We got about half an hour.
Yeah, so I'm I guess I would consider myself a technologist. I used to work for SpaceX in the IT and marketing departments there back when it was a startup. I was kind of a lone wolf, and after SpaceX, I went more towards the artistic side. I did a comic book with a group of artists, and then kind of really explored myself, did the self-discovery, and really asked myself like really big questions to kind of explore my own passion. And that led me into my soul's work and the company that we have today. And I'm kind of just an outside the box thinker, not really conventional. It's nice to be here.
Well, that's a lot of stuff you throw there. But what was interesting for me is like when you introduce yourself through the software, again, the online matchmaking for guests and hosts to connect. It was pretty simple. Like, I'm interested in what you're talking about. We should have a philosophical conversation. And of course, like you knew me, that would have been enough. Instead of like trying to oversell and being in marketing, you probably know that very well. So I am fascinated by the fact that I don't know really where we're going to go with this, but technology, society is all about humanity. I talk a lot about cybersecurity as well. That's actually how ITSPmagazine was born. And it's all there. It's hybrid reality, I call it, between digital and real world. There's not really a line anymore. It's kind of like a line in the sand that goes away often. How is your feeling towards that? Like you feel technology as a lot of positive things for us? You feel it more like a threat? Are you in the middle?
I err on the positive side. I think a lot of the fear and the threat actually probably stems more from like entertainment and all the stories that we've seen with technology and the implications. But it was early on that I kind of saw what the narrative was of that fear, and that it puts humanity and technology kind of on separate evolutionary mountains, I would say. Whereas when I look at it, I just see it as one evolutionary mountain, and we're both coming from opposite ends, but approaching the same peak. And that's a more collaborative way of looking at it, and that's the way I see it. So I'm more positive, and I see it. It's a partnership. It's we're evolving together.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I could think of my my idea is more of technology as an extension of our humanity, and
Mm.
to the point that it could be part of our evolution, which goes maybe a little bit into transhumanism, but not one of those. But I have to think that if we are who we are and we do what we do is because we create tools,
Yes.
and that's an extension of who we are. But
Yes.
with the brain, right,
Mm.
that fuel that, and probably the consciousness that allow us to think, or at least I hope we think. But sometimes it's gone what you say about the news. You know, is it really that bad, or bad news sells more than good news? So,
Mhm.
but do you think that um, we could be taking some wrong way, and then we need to make correction as we go? Because I kind of do feel that way.
Mm. Wrong way. Like, are you
Like we
meaning?
throw technology, we do things because we can, and then we like wait a minute, now that's not good. Let's back up because we are kind of screwing things up.
Mm. I see that. I mean, I kind of look at it in the evolutionary lens again. I see it's a learning process. I think
Mm.
you look at it more, I don't know, more childlike, and you see that kind of mistakes are needed to grow. So I think if there is a mindfulness there, it is like, yeah, you experiment, you push boundaries, and you see what happens when you go do those experiments, you try those things. And um I think if there's a care and alignment, I think it's all a learning process, and there's a growth, because it's evolution. It's something that's been occurring over time, uh, forever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just now we're kind of telescoping it. It's happening much faster, so it's going to seem maybe more out of control in that way. But I think we're going to adapt. We're going to learn it, and it's I kind of say, like, we're only evolving as fast as we're ready for, and it's likewise. The technology won't be available to us until we're ready for it, and it's a collaboration that is like very current.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of people think that technologies are just rain from the sky, like it's brought to us by some UFO and aliens life, and they just drop it here, and now like, okay, here's the box, figure it out,
Right.
right? But we make the technology, we create it, we invent it, and I think I'm connecting here for what you introduce yourself with, which is the idea of we're passion driven. So maybe we want to define what is the passion, because being Italian, for me, passion is food, it's art, it's right, I'm going to use my hand, and everything is driven by passion. I mean,
Yeah.
I when I go back in Italy, I'm like, I'm reabsorbed into a completely different way of thinking, in a way. But so there is that passion, but there is also the passion that is for making the world a better place, or passion for many other things. So how do you define passion to start with?
I define passion as the fuel of human energy. It is the inner power that actually drives our emotions. Uh, and it is, I feel, the energy that distinguishes animals and machines for what makes us unique here in existence on the planet. And I kind of want to go to connect a little dot here with what you were saying, where you were saying technology is an extension. I kind of take that metaphor a little deeper and a little farther, because as you were saying with the brain, the way I see it is, if we see the body as the hardware, including the brain as that hardware, computer hardware, and the mind is the software, then we can really see the organic and the artificial on the same level of emerging from that consciousness. And when we see more energetic, the energy, we see that the passion being kind of that thing that spans all of it. It's the fuel that runs through the body, mind, and if you go spirit and soul, kind of the higher aspects of ourself, it's the thing that fuels everything together, and that's why passion is more than just an uncontrollable emotion. It is our fuel, especially when you, like you said, what turns us on to life, what makes us feel alive, what gives us purpose, and all those really important things.
So I agree. I mean, it drives sometimes things that seem crazy and unnecessary, right? It's like when you hear, I love that the talk of Kennedy when he introduced the race to the moon, when he talk about the mountain, like, why do you climb Mount Everest? And they said because it was there, right? And it's like, that's no logic, because it was there. But there is a logic if you think about it as a passion, as an emotion, to say, well, I need to know, I need to discover, and I need to go there. It may seems maybe stupid because you risk to lose your life, but that's how you find out what is there. You find out, you discover new continent in the 1300, 1600, and how we, again, went to the moon, and we try to go to space, and probably reconnected with your experience at SpaceX. Like, why do you blow rockets like that? And NASA did the same thing. And because question mark, I guess, for you.
I mean, it's not. It was if we're only going logic, it doesn't seem logical, but there is an inherent attraction to the impossible. I mean, at least that I've always had that for as long as I can remember. The awe-inspiring kind of. I think Elon Musk says it sometimes, like the things that make you really excited to get up in the morning to tackle these next generation visions and aims and goals, because it does fill you with that excitement and the zest for being alive. And I guess if I'm trying to like go full circle and go into my emotions, like prior to any self-discovery and just like getting out of my own mental prisons and people pleasing tendencies and all these things, like I can remember just that the isolation and that sadness for like not being able to express myself, not knowing why I was here, and and even being a big picture guy of like the existential dread and negativity of the opposite of like not wanting to be here, but like, you know, why? I didn't know why. So when I wrap it back to that and I see like what these moonshots and things represent, it shakes up that monotony or the boredom or that the tension, the friction of that, of the negativity and the fears and the anxieties, and it shakes that up. Maybe that's the best way of putting it.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, and I think it's not easy to adapt ourselves to all these changes. I mean, when you look at history and you see, you could predict maybe in the 1800 what would it be life in 50 years later. There could have been innovation, much slower, new form of technology. Now I read a lot of book about futurist and from the singularity is nearer to whatever it is thrown. I also like to read Sagan, which wrote amazing things 20 years ago. But the point is that we don't know what's going to be in 50 years. I mean, I look back 2 years ago, I couldn't even imagine that I would every day use generative AI and ChatGPT, and now here I am, right? Like, so I'm getting here because I'm thinking like it's exciting time to live in this period, but also I feel like it's hard to, you kind of have to readapt every few months to something new, to new careers or new ways to use technology, and it's not easy. So how does the upgrading this our software, which is the brain and our mind, comes into play from your perspective into this?
Oof. Yeah, I mean, from that perspective, like, we are in the future that we were talking about, like the future. Like, there are self-driving cars now and generative like AI and all that. It is mind-blowing when you put in that context to it. When I said like taking that metaphor even further and actually seeing humans as a type of technology with hardware, software, a quantum user, consciousness, kind of a consciousness unity there. What you're kind of pointing at, I feel, is, actually, it's something that I learned actually being a professional wrestling fan since I was a kid. And it's really funny because I garner so much from this, and maybe this analogy can help like how I see it. But the way that I saw how professional wrestling and the fans and the culture informed how the art form has evolved over the last 50 years or more, it is very on pulse with evolution, with how evolution functions in a really cool way. Because I saw, because I've watched it my entire life, but I saw when stuff stagnated, you saw culture, not just wrestling culture, but culture change, and that informed the pivots in the way that they changed how they did it based off of how culture was. And it's been this ongoing adjustment, and it's a very evolutionary thing to see that. And that's why coming to the operating system level is so important, because we aren't still using Windows 95 today. because technology.
Somewhere, unfortunately, probably do.
Oh yeah, I mean, oh god, that would be a headache, right?
We're not talking about cybersecurity here.
Yeah,
So,
in the
okay.
government.
Sorry,
Oh
I
god,
had to make the joke.
oh, it's a good one. It's a good one. uh, I guess maybe we reframe it. We don't want to be using Windows
Okay.
95 today,
Yeah.
right? Because
If we can, we don't want to.
we don't want to. And so that's the same thing, but on a human level, we call it at my company survival of the fittest OS, as the old antiquated OS that doesn't allow us to evolve and change more flowingly, more as you were saying, quicker, more efficiently. And because just like I mean, what I could go back like Windows 95 being 32-bit, and then they went to 64-bit because the processors allowed, and then the software used the processors. And it's the same thing here. Survival of the fittest was designed for more of an animal, instinctual, fear and threat driven environment. And it got us very far. It helped us survive. But we're hitting the bottlenecks. And that's what all the anxiety and stress and negativity and is symbolizing, is that passion that we were talking about is getting stuck. It's getting bottlenecked in the body, mind, spirit, pipeline, plumbing, choose your metaphor there, right? Like, and when we look at it from an operating system level, that's what opens up the question of what would we rather be driven by if we don't necessarily need fear like we used to because of what technology provides, and being more conscious that we are technology too, not separate from it. This opens up the avenues of what upgrading our operating system can really open up in terms of beyond binary. Quantum computing. Google just released something about quantum computing advancement being able to do a calculation that like would take thousands of years. They did it in 5 minutes. And so these type of things are occurring because as a humanity, we're approaching the need to upgrade our own hardware, software, services, apps, from the old binary, ways into more of a quantum computing, faster, more dynamic processing that allows us to flow better, align better with how fast, as you were saying, these changes are occurring so rapidly, and that we don't want to be left behind.
So the way you make me think about this is this. Tell me if I'm wrong. We need to be more of an open source software for our brain, right? Instead of a Windows operating system that it's close to everything else. And we only, and the updates it's a much slower process. We need to be kind of more receptive, I guess, and get input from a lot of smart programmers and coders out there, and have kind of like a mental openness and a culture that allows to maybe learn new things, but also being able to judge those new things, not just get it because they push the upgrade, but because I decided that's a good upgrade. Maybe for me, I don't know. I'm just thinking I'm going into culture, right? Like changing the culture in that we live in our society, where we don't look at things in a binary way, black and white, good and bad, left and right, whatever
Yeah.
it is, but more open to changes.
Yeah.
But the big question is, and I go back, it's the culture, because I feel like the educational system and a lot of things in our society, unfortunately, they're still very, very much closed. It's almost like the education system itself. It's good to get you to learn how to write and read, but then good luck after that, right? So
you want to get me started on my distaste for public education, man? Yeah. If I were to offer, I guess, something to open the mind there, to maybe explode some possibilities, is the public education teaches us to silo subjects in our mind.
Yep.
But when we take a step back, with what you were kind of leading to, with rather than closed, we're talking more childlike curiosity and wonder.
Yeah, why? Questions, right?
Yes.
Curiosity. Yeah.
Yes. When we take a step back from the mind there of how we were taught, and see the imagination as technology, we can entertain the idea of maybe tearing down those silos, letting this knowledge play together, because it gives us a more holistic, creative view of all the data and information that we have to play with here. At least that was something that I came up against when I was exploring what I felt was holding me back, in terms of this wall from this wall that I saw was constructed by school and being separated from my passion for learning. And so seeing what that wall is constructed by, and having the courage to tear down some of those bricks to see why it was designed in the first place, I feel is so important to opening up, as you're saying, that the potential and the intelligence, the human intelligence that we have capable of here.
So is your idea, your vision then, is that if we let our passion flow more freely and we're less constricted by societal norms and rules and fears of being judged and all these walls and silos that have been put in our head, from the educational system and other system that we have, then we could be more creative, more innovative, and maybe even innovate and create with more purpose, maybe.
100%. And I don't want to get too into the business stuff, but my invention was this new operating system,
right?
And I call it imagination technology as a challenger to survival of the fittest. So that's where I went with this. Is I saw the need. I need a new operating system. But in any personal development and spirituality and all the silos, it wasn't addressing what I was really needing. It was, behavioral, psychological, spiritual, philosophical, all great areas of knowledge and wisdom. But for me as an inventor, I saw the need for survival of the fittest needs a challenger brand. It has the monopoly on the human species, and it's not helping us anymore. It's holding us back. And so that was my soul's work, was I want to invent a new operating system so that it can accomplish what you're saying. Open source the body, mind, spirit, and get people to the essence, not to become someone that they're not, like trying to stand on old architecture, but to tear down and subtract what no longer serves us, so that we can find our natural state.
Okay. And I mean, I know we said we weren't talking about the business, but it's also the way that drive your way of thinking, which just intrigues me. So few hints on how did you do that? I mean, I understand there is that you got to open your mind and be receptive, but you said it's an invention. Did I capture that? So, so give me a summary of that. Meaning, how do you do that? Because for me, it would be, it's a book that tells me how to do thing, or sitting with a psychologist that helped me to, open my mind. But I also I'm going with my sci-fi brain, and I'm thinking like you're gonna plug something in my head, like in a helmet, and I start seeing a different world, or what's the, I mean, don't give away everything, but what is it?
Yeah, I do some podcasts here and there, but like I always joke that I was my own first test subject, and metaphorically, like taking a scalpel to my own mind and prying around in there. No, it's actually, I say simple, not easy, but it's very simple in the sense that it's delivered through a series of 5 videos. And I do have a book as well that we're calling the manual, and it's kind of my personal journey to it and backstory and all of that.
A software manual?
It's sort of,
the software manual for your brain.
There,
Okay.
Yeah. And it offers 3 counterculture theories that's not posed as a additive self-help. Here's information to eat and consume. It's more taught from you test it in your own way, because it's all about a counterculture subtraction of things at your own evolution. So one example, to not give it all away, because it is an experience to experience and to try, but one of the main ones is called the day one theory, and that's kind of just posing the difference between survival of the fittest, which is all about linear time, and a time-based dimension of living, very appropriate for how we needed to survive. But then you have these teachings of timelessness that come from maybe philosophy or spirituality, or this is nothing new. It's just kind of a repackaged way of doing it in a technological way. So it's what happens when you take the teaching of timelessness into survival of the fittest, and you see which one is actually accurate and true for you. I mean, I would assume maybe a lot of your listeners are into personal development, and maybe they have heard like that time is an illusion or time isn't real. Like there's some edges there that are explored, but it's really about applying that in a counterculture way to your operating system. Challenging how much time you're carrying, and whether or not, given the choice, do you actually want to? Is it an alignment? Does it feel good, empowering, versus how well you can process when your operating system is timeless? Does that make sense?
Well, in my brain, yeah. I mean, I'm also seeing the Matrix, and it's kind of
Yes.
like, you want the red or the blue pill?
Exactly.
Do you want to expand your mind, or you want to just taste that steak that tastes real but is not, right? I mean, I'm with you. I mean, this is very philosophical. I think it is intriguing for a lot of people. Where I like how you call it, honestly, the IT, which is not information technology but imagination technology. I can see the connection there. And I think that it's a great starting point for everybody to kind of think the way, if I'm going to wrap it in this connection between society and technology and individuals that are in it. Number one, not refuse things without thinking about it, without testing it, without trying it, right?
Yes.
Many times, like, nope, not going to use generative AI, screw that. That's not going to happen. And I'm like, well, you want to criticize something, at least give it a go, right? I'm not saying you need to jump in the fire to see if it's burning, but you can taste things in a safe way. And so judge for yourself and break certain rules. So you have to think a little bit in a counter-intuitive way. I like the metaphor of time. Everything is linear, everything is black and white. So question, and that's how I'm gonna wrap this. I'm gonna give you another couple of minutes to kind of summarize. If you have something that you learn from this conversation, or inspire you to do something else, as is a two-way conversation here. It's not just me asking question and you answering, but for me, it is that connection between us driving technology and changing the culture, but also the need to be open to it, and then drive technology towards a better humanity. Let's use this technology, and let's honestly question the hell out of everything. And I think we will be in a much better space. So that's my take from this conversation, and it really made me think. And so I don't know, is there a take on your side to close this conversation? Maybe make you think something that made you think something that you weren't thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that when I really get down to it, this idea, like redefining society and how we are collaborating with technology, I'm really reminded and really kind of confirmed to see it's both an individual and a collective thing. It's not just collective. It starts with the individual and then ripples to a collective thing, and it's that invitation of freedom, and not just like conditional freedom, like a financial freedom or things like that, but the unconditional freedom that is the invitation to even like take the baby steps of waking up from the matrix, or challenging these old paradigms, and the desire to upgrade your your operating system, it takes courage, it takes bravery. It's not for the faint of heart, but it does start on an individual level. And I think just doing things like having conversations like this and having the ability for other people to hear it and be in on it, provides that invitation to people that it's possible. Just like when people thought the 5-minute mile wasn't possible, and then someone did it, and now it's possible. So it just takes that, and then it gains that momentum. But it starts on that individual level, for that evolution to inspire.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, when we talk about society, it's many individuals that start thinking together. And I feel like in the long run, and we can go philosophical again here, but it's the fact that, again, it's a two-way street, which is the way I started. Society and technology influence each other, and society itself and the individual. I think if you live in a society that stimulate and invite you to develop your own individuality, more people would probably think about that, instead of a society that kind of push you down, and then you don't think at yourself as an operating system that you can upgrade, but that's what I've been given and it's what I have. Yeah. So a lot to think here. I want to thank you, Jeremy, for this conversation. I didn't really know where it was going to go.
It was rousing,
but I really enjoyed it. I hope the audience enjoyed it. And as I usually say, if now they have more questions than answers, we probably did a good job, because you got to question everything. So I invite everybody to subscribe, to check in the notes. There'll be linked to your profile, social media profile, and your website, and learn more about what you do, what you think, and let us know. Leave some comments and subscribe. So, Jeremy, thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it, Marco.
All right. Take care, everybody.